Hello there. Welcome to the Film Whisperers, where two film nerds talk all things movies with a contemporary lens. My name is Saj.
And my name is Matt.
So, Matt, we've been having a really good discussion on female-led action films. I think it's a good way of really understanding, well, what does it mean for female representation in a genre that's stereotypically aimed at men, and whether it's the male gaze that directs it, or whether women are allowed to just strip back and just like Charlize Theron in Mad Max and kind of just be someone who would not be considered to be traditionally feminine in these roles. And I guess this time around, we probably should talk about the films that surprised us, Before we proceed, I just wanted to have a quick chat to you about this. When we say action, you have the no-brainer type films that just have bombs and guns, right? And I think with action, do you reckon that we can add another genre to it? So as an example, and when I talk about my film, it will probably make sense, but would an action comedy be considered, an action movie that has comedy in it, would that also be, what do you reckon? Would that also be considered action?
I think so. I feel like with all these different genres, there are a lot of film bros or people on the internet and stuff that like to gatekeep and say no, that's not this genre, it's this genre, and you can't claim that it is. But I feel like, to be honest, a lot of action comedies, I feel like, do have quite a lot of action elements in them. And yeah, I feel like what do you think? I think it's an action movie.
I would say so too. I guess it's what people gravitate towards. So I would gravitate towards a comedy, and I would probably say it's a comedy and it's got a lot of action in it. I don't know. I guess it would just depend on the person, I guess. But yes, but I do find that interesting. The internet gatekeepers who've got that entitlement to think that.
It happens with horror all the time.
Yeah,
so with horror, it's always no, it's not a horror. It's a psychological thriller. I'm like, whatever. If its purpose is to scare you, I still think it's kind of a horror movie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, it's is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Well, yeah, it's all that kind of stuff. It's who cares?
Who cares?
If what you get from it, if you feel like it's that, then that's what it is.
Exactly. Right. Anyway, okay. What's your WTF?
So my one, and I should just say a slight trigger warning because the movie that I'm talking about involves sexual assaults.
Okay.
So if you don't want to hear about any of that, just tune out for a second, for a few minutes. So basically over the decades, there's been this kind of subgenre of movies that have to do with women experiencing sexual assault and then wanting to, exact revenge on the person that perpetrated it. And a lot of those movies, as we touched on before with the male gaze, very much are filmed through this kind of almost exploitative way where it's very much just about seeing the woman's body and also it's very male gazy. I think a few years ago now, I can't remember what year it was, this movie came out called Revenge, which I believe was written and directed by a woman, that kind of touches on the same theme. So it's about a woman who experiences something quite traumatic and then goes out to get revenge on the people that did that to her. And it's just done in such a refreshing and different way. To me, it's like chalk and cheese. When you watch one of those kind of earlier movies that were directed by men that have similar kind of storylines and stuff, it's just so obvious how different it's shot. It's not really empowering the female character. It's kind of denigrating them, making them just look as whatever as possible. Whereas with Revenge, it's actually a really empowering thing to watch and you can tell it was written by someone, it's just, you can tell the difference. And so essentially the plot is just this woman who goes through this traumatic thing and then goes out to this kind of secluded house in I don't know, the New Mexico desert or something, where these guys are, and then she wants to get revenge or whatever, and it's just it's really just a kick-ass time. You get to, you really root for her because you get a sense of who she is, and it's just really fun watching her get back at all of them and seeing them all kind of I don't know. It's a very fun watch.
It's interesting that the first bit that you talk about in terms of sexual assault and its depiction in film. There's been so many things on the internet, almost borderline movements that want any form of rape scenes to just stop being shown because it's not a form of art in terms of what it represents. Then you hear of a film like this where when a woman directs it and a woman writes it, does that make it okay? I don't know. It's a really heavy topic, and as men, I don't think we get a say in it. I think, but it just I don't know. It's a very hard one.
Totally, and I can understand this. Sorry, when I mentioned Revenge, it's not the kind of movie for everyone. It's definitely not. And I should actually say part of the reason I put it in my WTF is because it's like very gory as well. So it's kind of like, it's not really a horror movie, but like I would say that like only if you're interested in kind of a bit more of an extreme kind of gory, like, you know, it's very violent.
Is it English?
No, it's French.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay.
So yeah.
European cinema can be.
Yeah, they
okay.
had no holds barred. But like, I guess I just thought it was quite refreshing and surprising in that, yeah, I could just tell that it was quite a different way that they were telling the story that really centered the woman and what she. It wasn't about like they didn't like linger on the stuff that was happening to her, the negatives. Like it wasn't about like, oh, let's watch this, all this bad stuff happening to her. It's more like this bad thing has happened. Now watch her, like, you know, reclaim. You know what I mean? It was just yeah. That for me was definitely my WTF. But it was if you're interested in that kind of movie, then definitely check it out.
Awesome.
How about you?
For me, it would have to be an action comedy film. And again, you know, people might disagree with this. Have you seen Spy?
I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure it has Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
Is there another? Is like a buddy one? Is there another person?
Yeah, it's Miranda Hart.
Okay, yeah.
Such an unlikely duo.
Yeah.
But it is so funny and it's just so well written. It was probably one of the better Melissa McCarthy movies I've seen. Now, I'm going to be very honest. I'm very biased with Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
To me, she will always be Suki St. James from Gilmore Girls. And ever since she did Bridesmaids and her career took off, regardless of what she does, she'll always be Suki St. James to me. And I will always like whatever she does, even though a lot of those films are a bit strange. So with Spy, I think it's a bit slapstick, but there's a lot of action in it. And Miranda Hart and Melissa McCarthy, they just work so well together. And I know my partner, who is a massive Eurovision fan, it really won him over because there's a scene in there that features, I think their name's Verka Serdushka. I'm not saying it right, but it's a very popular Eurovision act.
Right, okay.
And they end up performing the song they performed in Eurovision. And it's a really funny scene where they're performing on stage and then the Melissa McCarthy character is trying to look for someone and then crashes the stage, grabs their mic and tries to say something. Look, it's, anyway, it is it is a really, really good film.
Okay.
And so here's the other thing. So I guess talking about female representation, then you have someone like Melissa McCarthy.
Very true, yeah. Like regardless of gender, almost like that's not the typical kind of action star that you see in an action movie.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, in this, she plays. Yeah, like I believe she plays a CIA agent, and she's coupled with Miranda Hart. And I don't know if you know much about Miranda Hart, but again, she's a British comedian, and she considers herself to be awkward and tall, and she's hilarious.
Yeah.
And you know, the two of them make this amazing action film. So I don't know. Yeah.
I think that's cool. I haven't seen it, but yeah, it's like you said, because we're talking about like, you know, the different representations of ways that women are presented in action movies, and like it's kind of cool seeing a movie led by women, but also like women that you wouldn't typically see as the lead in like action movies. So, and I'm glad that you liked it too. Like it's one that's like interesting to check out. So, has Melissa McCarthy been in a few of these kind of action comedies? I thought there was another one.
There's Heat. The one
Heat
with Sandra Bullock, which is also pretty good.
Okay.
I also want to quickly just acknowledge, I know that we haven't had a single person of colour that we've spoken about, which is, I would say it's quite problematic, but you know, I don't know how much is out there in terms of action and female people of colour being represented. I think the only thing I can think of at the moment is Catwoman with Halle Berry.
Or if you go back further, and actually I could have mentioned this for my good one, but like Pam Grier back in the day did like lots of like,
of course.
Coffee and all those kinds of great. Yeah, it's very rare because like it's still, you know.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for chatting with me today about female-led action movies, Saj, and thanks for joining us at home. You've been watching The Film Whisperers here on Bent TV.